This is something I've definitely struggled with for most of my life, all of my life, as far back as I can remember, to be honest, which is this intense self critical narrative that constantly goes on in my head. Sometimes I'm not entirely even aware of it, and for probably the majority of my life, I wasn't even aware that it was a thing. It just was the way things were. I didn't question it, and I can see where it comes from. And I think it's a pretty common story where we have critical parents that were, like my parents were quite themselves quite unhappy, critical people, and they just pass that on to us. They were very irritable, so I wasn't allowed to do many things. I wasn't allowed to really speak up. I wasn't allowed to make noise. I wasn't allowed to do this and that. So there's this constant stream. Well, initially this thing from my parents, especially my mother and stepfather, that was this pressure, this constant pressure, feeling like I'm not okay, or I'm going to do something wrong, or I need to alter things, or I can't relax, or and this was just continuous when I was younger. And then we just start doing this to ourselves. So people do it to us, and then we just do it to ourselves. I just got into the habit, and it was out of survival necessity when I was younger, that I just had to constantly criticize and monitor myself to make sure that I wasn't going to get into trouble. Because honestly, I was terrified of my mother and stepfather. My stepfather could get very violent. My mother did as well. They would threaten things. I was too young to understand that a lot of things they would threaten probably weren't possible. But it was terrifying for me. So I became very self-critical, very self-aware, and not in a positive way. So my whole life, I remember just having this critical voice. You shouldn't do this. You got to do better. You have to do this. No, you shouldn't say that. Do this better. Do more of this. Do less of that. Just this voice that constantly criticizes everything, and it just never stops. And it's interesting because I have always had an issue with anger. That seems to be my default state, which is one of irritation and anger, which interestingly was of my mother as well and my stepfather. So this is sort of passed on, right? And this internal dialogue, like what the parents' dialogue would do, causes me and the body to become defensive, to become tight, to become tense, to become rigid because it's under attack. It was under attack by them. I became rigid, and now it's under attack by myself. So I'm rigid. And I've always had an issue with tension in the body, in the shoulders, in the stomach, which it's definitely gotten better as I've gotten older and worked on and things. But it's always been there, and I think this is very common. Tension in behind the head, the neck, the shoulders, even my hands I hold sometimes tight. It's like I'm ready to fight, which makes sense because I'm under attack by myself constantly. There are a few things that have helped me, but I wanted to start with the two main things that I think are the most helpful, which is this. If you told me this sort of stuff, in the past, I would have rejected it. But as I get older, I understand that we need to give ourselves what our parents didn't give us. And this really is the only way to heal. This softness, this openness, this love, you could call it, is the only thing that's going to relax our defenses enough in order to open up and to allow us to breathe and to feel the fear and the anxiety and the vulnerable emotions that are sort of causing a lot of these issues for us. And one of the ways to do that is just by talking to yourself as though you were a child. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. I can say things like, I allow myself to feel this. Or it's okay to feel whatever I'm feeling. Just very simple, brief ideas that you can tell your inner child that it's okay. Whatever you're feeling, it doesn't matter. You cannot judge. You cannot try to change anything. This is the point. Our parents caused this. We then caused it. And it's always this sense of things aren't okay or I'm not okay the way things are. To reverse it, we need to feel like things are okay, so things open up. I allow myself to feel angry. It's okay to feel angry. I'm scared. I allow myself to be scared. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to cry. All these things that we wanted our parents to tell us and make us feel that we couldn't, we now have to do it for ourselves because no one else can. This will open up things for you if you really try. This will open up grief, fear, anxiety, vulnerability, like I said before. And when we get there and when we are feeling these feelings, we need to still have that in our minds, that loving, open presence. What I've done before is when I would, because I've always had an issue with crying, trying to do it. And then when I would start it, I would create mental scenarios to try to deepen the experience. Things like I would imagine an angel or some kind of feminine, angelic being would come down and just come and hug me and hold me. Or I would pretend that I am myself now, meeting my younger self who was upset and just giving him the most infinite love you can imagine. Saying things like, no matter what you feel, I'm here with you. Let's cry together. Let's be angry together. It's okay. You have every right to feel how you want to feel. It's okay. These things will help you deepen the experience to be able to release more and more so we can actually heal this stuff. That for me, in my experience, is the only true way to actually heal as a human being. All the other stuff, changing your thoughts, mindfulness, pushing things here and there, doing this and that, it's just like a band-aid. We're still avoiding the core of the issue, which is our defense mechanisms. And then when we get through those, it's whatever grief and fear and vulnerable emotions that we haven't felt as a child. Feel these and we will grow and change and we will just become healthier. It won't be, we won't have to try to think differently. We won't have to try anything. Our minds just become clearer. We feel more, we experience more peace, more love, more empathy, all the stuff that we all want. There are some other things that you can do. One of them is just mindfulness meditation. This isn't going to directly grow. Like I said, it's not going to directly heal, but it will help you be more aware of the thoughts going on. It will help you focus, because we need focus to do this stuff. We can train focus. We can even meditate in terms of just being in the body, just exploring the feelings and tensions and emotions and troublesome things and uncomfortable things that come up and just being with each one. Things like that are infinitely more beneficial than any thought experiment in terms of, I think, CBT and all that stuff. It just doesn't seem to have any fundamental healing characteristics or effects. So that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to share that. I hope for anyone else who is super critical of themselves and has this issue, this gives you some ideas and hopefully helps. Thanks, guys.